And there's more to this context here in Albuquerque. I mean, just to mention two, you've got the Mary Hahn case, which is, a local civil rights attorney who was dealing with a lot of this. She was found suspiciously dead and declared a suicide in very odd circumstances that even the Attorney General is cautious of language. He says there's just not any evidence to really definitively say this was suicide, but there's no ability now to really investigate because there's a whole slurry of police officials and government officials just trampsing all over the scene of the crime. And it's a crime scene. Any homicide or any suspected homicide, before it's been determined, is treated like a crime scene. And when you hear that story, I mean, we don't have to get into the detail of that. I'm going to tell some of that. But then I was watching the story about, the latest is there's this revamping of positions and creation of two positions of major, and claiming that this is going to give more oversight over officers, which may or may not have some effect. It's not going to be sufficient because it's about whether you're going to actually punish the officers and hold them to account, not just oversee them. And I mean, because some of these mistakes you can't undo the harm. And you have to remove problematic officers who just don't belong there. But the story is that one of these two people now appointed to major was involved in another one of these non-fatal, but as the Department of Justice pointed out, multiple issues of use of force, not just deadly force, but use of less than lethal force, although tasers can kill and often do. But they burned his ear off. And the two statements I've heard from the officer are, well, and the positive one was, certainly I made mistakes. Now that's okay. Maybe there's a reassuring quality there. But his other statement was, but that's back in the early days of taser technology. Well, no, the technology didn't burn his ear off. The misuse of force did. And so I'm a little skeptical that this is really someone who has been able to see outside that box that they're still in. But what I found out is that the victim in that case, who didn't die, brought a lawsuit, got a significant, I think, $300,000 award, and the next day was fatally shot and murdered in an unsolved murder case. And
I know.
Story after story, you're hearing this. And even though some of these are coincidences, or likely coincidences, it's very likely that a lot of these are not. And certainly it is not unreasonable for people, given that context, to be very fearful. And when a community is fearful of their own law enforcement, we've got the whole thing flipped on its head.